Minister for Sport and Recreation, Leon Bignell, thanks very much for joining us on Ozsports Media today.
No, absolute pleasure to be here.
So it's a very exciting time for the state, with many events coming up and the construction of Adelaide Oval. Can you provide us with an update as to how the construction process is going?
Yeah, Adelaide Oval is coming along really well. We always knew that we'd have tight time frames, and we're going to get there. The first test isn't far away, and then of course it'll be fully open in time for the AFL season, which kicks off in March next year. So really great news for South Australia, and not only for sports fans, but really going to be great for the economy. We've been doing a lot of work to get the Victorian teams to come bring their fans over when they come and play.
It's beautiful. So when the stadium is complete, where will it sit in terms of the best stadiums in the country?
Well, we had people over from the AFL a few weeks ago. We had representatives of all the clubs, and we had people from the AFL itself, and they said it's up there with the best places to watch AFL footy anywhere in Australia. I mean, I think they're all probably jealous a little bit of what we've got to offer here, and they want to sort of not say that ours is necessarily better, but the theme that was coming through, that it's going to be one of the best stadiums, not just in Australia but in the world.
Beautiful. So cricket fans would be getting excited with the Ashes coming here in early December, and state opposition has raised some questions on whether the stadium will be ready in time for that event. What are your comments?
Well, as the saying goes, it'll be all right on the night, and the thing we need to do is, this is a great positive thing, and the rest of Australia is looking at Adelaide and saying, gee, it's a go-ahead place. You've just been picked as one of the top 10 cities in the world to go and visit, and here we've got the opposition going out whinging about stuff. Oh, it might not be ready. Let's talk the state up. Let's be proud of South Australia and what we've got here. It's going to be tremendous, and it's a real pity. The other week in Parliament, the Liberal opposition asked me about, did we pay money to get the AFL clubs to come and have a look at Adelaide Oval? Of course we did. We invested $7,500 to have all the commercial managers come over here, because next year they're going to bring at least 1,000 people every weekend for 20 weekends during winter. Those people will stay in hotels, they'll go to McLaren Vale, the Barossa and Adelaide Hills and spend money in our economy. The least we're going to get is 1,000 from those smaller clubs, but clubs like Collingwood and Geelong, this year they took 5,000 or 6,000 people up to the Gold Coast to watch their team play against the Sun. So this thousands of people coming into Adelaide for 20 weekends next year. I think everyone, including the Liberal opposition, needs to get on board. This isn't going to be just good for footy. This is going to be great for the economy of South Australia as well.
And in relation to the Ashes test that's coming up, do you have any information on the ticket sales?
Ticket sales are going really well. I think there may be still some tickets available, but they've been selling particularly well. What we're able to do is, originally there were going to be capacity for 30,000 people at the Adelaide Oval, which is more than what we've had in recent years. But now we've been able to fit some extra seating into that eastern stand, which won't be fully open, but we can get 5,500 seats in there. So that'll take capacity from up to 35,500, and then when it's fully operational for the footy season, we'll have 52,500 seats in the Adelaide Oval, including some of the best corporate areas anywhere in the world, and two massive media sections as well. So there'll be one for cricket in the southern stand, and there'll be one for AFL in the western stand.
On the western stand. And in regards to football, AFL clubs have recently taken a tour of the Oval. What were their reactions seeing the new facility? They
loved it, and not only did they love what the Oval looked like, they loved everything that they could bring their corporates to see here, like say McLaren Vale, Barossa, Adelaide Hills. Get on a plane, 25 minutes later you're in Port Lincoln, one of only 2 or 3 places in the world where you can come face to face with the great white sharks. They like Kangaroo Island. So we're actually trying to get these clubs to bring their fans over, and particularly bring their corporate fans over, and spend 3, 4, 5 days in South Australia and really boost our economy. It's going to be worth millions and millions of dollars a year to the South Australian economy. So they love the ground, and they're really looking forward to bringing their fans and their corporates to South Australia.
And there's a lot of new innovations for the 2014 AFL season, including Thursday night football. The Adelaide Crows have been given one of those fixtures. Do you think Thursday night football will suit the city of Adelaide?
I think it's going to be terrific. I don't care what day of the week they want to play it or what night of the week. I just think Adelaide is either going to be full of people who have just finished work who are going to go down there, or on a weekend it's going to fill the city with 52,500 people who are then going to go to our new laneway bars up around Hindley Street precinct there and really enjoy what we've got to offer. We're also investing a lot of money in the riverbank. So we've got the Adelaide Oval on one side of the the Torrens. We've got the convention centre, the casino, and other entertainment venues on the other side of the Torrens. And we're building this spectacular bridge, which will have a water feature coming off it. And I think it's just going to change the face of Adelaide. And people around the world, including Lonely Planet, have already picked up on what we're offering here in Adelaide that is different to what we offered in Adelaide a year ago or 2 years ago. So exciting times for South Australia.
Exciting times, and leading into that, there's talk of a Commonwealth Games bid. As Adelaide is, South Australia is one of the only cities not to host the Olympics or Commonwealth Games, but we have an excellent track record in hosting international events. Is the City of Adelaide ready to hold an event as big as the Commonwealth Games?
I think Adelaide's well and truly ready. I mean, we almost had the Games back in 1962. They ended up going to Perth for some reason. Maybe some shenanigans happened there, and Adelaide dipped out. In 1998, when the Games were held in Kuala Lumpur, we were really close to holding the Games. We missed out by a couple of votes, and I think there was a thought within the Commonwealth Games Association at the international level that it was time for Asia to get those Games. So back in 92 in Barcelona, we were dealt the bad news that we just missed out on hosting the 98 Commonwealth Games. I think it's well and truly time Adelaide could host it. I have absolutely no doubt that Adelaide would be a perfect host city. What we're doing now is we're doing a stock take of all of our sporting infrastructure around the state to see what the cost would be to put in extra infrastructure, but there's no doubt that we've got the rail networks coming on board, we've got the tram extensions that we're going to do, we've got a fantastic airport, the fastest growing international airport in Australia at the moment, with a growth of 63% just on 2 years ago. So everything's coming together, it looks great, we just need to make sure that as a state we can afford it.
So, and a member of the Commonwealth Games feasibility committee is the owner of Adelaide United, Robert Gerard. Now, he's been campaigning to have the event in the city for quite a while. Why has the state government now started the ball rolling in exploring the possibility of pursuing a bid for the Commonwealth Games?
Well, you're right. Robert Gerard has been calling for Commonwealth Games for many years now, and I think Robert's a terrific South Australian. He really does put in a lot to our state. Some people make a lot of money and then they keep it all to themselves. Robert has been a fantastic contributor to our community, in particular to the sporting world as well, you know, whether it's through Adelaide United or through racing here in South Australia, and he does so much for our Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games athletes. So Robert's terrific to work with, and I'm really glad that he's sitting around the table with us on this committee as we look at the feasibility of hosting the 2030 Commonwealth Games here in Adelaide.
And as you said before, Adelaide got a pat on the back from Lonely Planet for being listed in the top 10 cities. Does that give you a lot of enthusiasm in pursuing your bid?
Absolutely. Look, I've always been a real positive South Australian Adelaide kind of guy, you know, who gets out there and says this is how great it is to, you know, all these things that we've got in South Australia. And, you know, it's hard sometimes interstate where people want to have a different view of what Adelaide's got to offer. You know, the people who think Adelaide's not a very good place are people who've never been here, largely. So I think what the Lonely Planet tick does by naming us as one of the top 10 cities in the world is actually gives us a little bit of kudos and a little bit of a licence to get out there and say, look, we can back up our claim that Adelaide's a great city. Independent people, Lonely Planet, they can't be bought. They've made their decision and they've named us one of the best cities in the world.
And Adelaide does have a lot of great venues for hosting sport, including Hindmarsh Stadium. What other venues or infrastructure would you see as needing to be used for the Games, and would they need to be redeveloped?
Well, that's what we're having a look at. They're doing this stock take at the moment. We've obviously got a fantastic velodrome. We've got a brand new oval in Adelaide Oval, which has lots of media centres in it. Well, two media centres, but lots of media room within those centres. We've got a brand new swimming centre down at Marion, which is the best in Australia at the moment. Obviously, in 17 years' time, a few of those facilities are going to need upgrading along the way. We're in discussions with netball because obviously we want to have a good facility down there and plenty of courts, not just for the Commonwealth Games, but between now and when the Games may come to Adelaide. Hindmarsh Stadium is another area that if we were to get the rugby sevens, we might have to extend that out a little bit. But we think we've got some fantastic facilities now, and we may have a few more come on board between now and 2030.
And I know it's a long way out and it's always hard to predict the numbers of athletes that will be competing, but does the committee have an idea of how many athletes may be coming down for the Commonwealth Games, and where would they be staying?
Well, somewhere between 5 and 10,000 athletes. It's always hard to tell, this far out. But we would like the community to give us some feedback on where the Athletes Village may go. There's been a proposal that the Women's and Children's Hospital, which the Wetherill government's already announced, we're going to move that to the new Royal Adelaide site in about 2023, that would be available. And what a great location that would be, right next to the Adelaide Oval. So the athletes could walk out of their rooms straight into the Adelaide Oval for the opening ceremony and not have to travel too far. So I don't think we've ever had a Commonwealth Games, or even Olympic Games for that matter, in the history of these great athletic events that have had a city stadium right in the heart of the city with a village right next door. So, most of them are on greenfield sites well out of the city, and I think this would just be tremendous.
So, moving away from the Games towards the SANTOS Tour Down Under, it's coming through in January. Two exciting announcements in Sir Chris Hoy coming over, and also Cadell Evans, the Tour Down Under winner. How will this add to the excitement of the tour?
Well, every year we try and make the tour better and more exciting, and 16th tour coming up in January, you'd think, how can they make it any better? But I think with the addition of Cadell, he hasn't ridden here since he won the Tour de France in 2011. He rode here in 2010, and this will be the first time Australians get to see Cadell on home soil since he won the Tour de France. So I think a great thing for the cycling spectators. But I also think having Sir Chris Hoy here is just tremendous. He's an ornament to the sport. If you go across all the sports, not just cycling, he's been one of the greatest of all times, and a terrific fellow to boot. And he's really keen to come down to South Australia. He's really excited about it.
Fantastic. And the Tour Down Under is not just a bike race anymore. It's a cycling festival, so to speak.
Well, it's even more than a bike race and more than a cycling festival. It's a huge economic business for our state. Last year we had 40,000 people come from interstate and overseas to see the Tour Down Under, and that brought $43 million of economic benefit to South Australia. So you walk around to the restaurants, they're all full of people. You go up in the hills and the bakeries, everyone's selling lots of pies and pasties, and the wineries, of course, are doing a roaring trade as well. And we know one thing about cycling tourists is that a lot of them spend a lot of money on their bikes, and when they travel they like to stay in a nice place, and they like to spend a lot of money on quality food and wine.
Absolutely. And what about for the amateur cyclists? What programs or what events are in place for them this year?
We have the Booper Challenge, which is a tremendous event that's just grown each year, and that means that people who might ride in groups, or they might not ride too much at all, can go out and pick a course that might be as short as 30 k's, or it might be the entire course of one of the stages. And this coming tour, it'll be the stage down to Victor Harbour, and it'll really test the riders out. But it's always a great event. I've ridden it a couple of times, and it's tremendous to get out there with thousands of other fellow cyclists, all done up in the lycra. And I tell you what, you've been on a bike by the time you get to the finish line.
Absolutely. And the Tour Village plays a big part of the SANTOS Tour Down Under. Can you tell us about what happens at the village and how the members of the public can get involved, and where it will be this year?
Yeah, look, the village has always been a popular place because you can see the riders up close, and you can also see the mechanics working on the bikes, and there's lots of trade people there. So if you need to buy some equipment, or you need to get some other advice on what you're doing with your bike, then that's there. The kids love it, and the great thing about the Tour Down Under is it's in the school holidays. It's absolutely free. So I encourage people, if you haven't been out to see the Tour Down Under, log on and find out where it's going, and I'm sure it'll be coming somewhere near you in January next year, and come along and cheer on the world's best riders.
And quickly, just in regards to that, if people want to find out about the routes or the festivities that the riders will be a part of, where can they go to find that information?
If they just Google SANTOS Tour Down Under, and that'll bring them to the webpage under the South Australian Tourism Commission's major events section, and all the information you could want is there. You can book to take part in the Booper Challenge. You can find out the best vantage points to watch the race, and also where to catch up with the riders, not just at the village but at other places along the route during the week.
Minister Bignell, thank you very much for joining us on Ozsports Media.
Absolute pleasure. Great to be here. Look forward to coming back again sometime.